Welcome back, listeners, to a brand new episode of the New Standard. I want to apologize for tonight. I was going back and forth in terms of whether I wanted to do the show tonight, whether I thought the extension of Mike Tomlin signing his extension was worthy of doing a show. And I fell on the side of it was. And also, I want to apologize to you guys again. My name is Lance Williams, host of The New Standard. I want to apologize to you again because the schedule has really been topsy turvy. And, I will admit that over the course of time, when you do a show for as long as I've done it, that it gets tough. It gets tough. And I don't want to go into it too much about just how tough it gets, and but it's a tough thing. It's a tough thing doing shows all the time, and sometimes you just need a break. And that's why I've been doing a ton of shorts. But I'm trying a couple things new. I know I'm a little dark in the video here now, but I'm going to try to fix that by getting a backlight. But I wanted to improve the camera, so at least when you saw me in the video, the camera would be a little bit better, less pixelation. But I'm just been struggling to come out and do a show. Big up to Laura Top Life, but I figured I should do a show today because Mike Tomlin signed his extension. Again, you're listening to the New Standard, hosted by yours truly, Lance Williams, also by Neil Coulong. Neil was going to do the show with me tonight, but because of some things that I have going on tomorrow, Neil was not able to come on with me tonight or tomorrow. But, you know, Tomlin signing an extension, again, I think is worthy of a program. And I was having some issues and some problems in terms of how I wanted to frame this discussion. Because when I think about Tomlin coming back, I don't know if I'm excited. I don't know if I'm disappointed. I just emotionally don't know what I am. So I've got to toss the question to you. But in looking at, and I want to give a shout out to Jeff Hartman, my former partner in crime. We used to do the show together for years. Uh, and Jeff put a poll out there and asked the question, and asked Steeler Nation, as I bring the poll up, just about the extension and just how Steeler Nation feels about the extension. And where I thought Jeff did a good job was, and big up to those guys over there. Make sure you support Jeff and everything he does. J Hartman underscore Pitt. Solid guys over there. Um, and Laura asked a good question. And I think we're going to get to it. As Laura, that's a great graphic of Black Wonder Woman punching Donald Trump in the face. I'm assuming that's what that is. Um, but and it's funny, as Mike Wolf says, I can't picture Rooney ever canning him. Um, the funny thing about that was, I was having a discussion with my pop about the Steelers and extending Mike Tomlin. And he asked, do you think Mike Tomlin will get to the end of his contract, the 3-year extension? I was like, shit, 21 years. If he doesn't, he got 20 something years out of this. I mean, geez. I mean, in the National Football League to be able to coach that long. And, you know, it's just hard for me to frame Mike, because when you listen to pundits, uh, you hear stuff like this from Rich Eisen. He said, "quote If Mike Tomlin didn't get his 3-year contract extension, he would be somebody else's coach within 5 minutes. I'm telling y'all, he is one of the best in the business." And while I don't think he's not a really good coach, let me just say it this way, and before I get into to Jeff's poll, and actually, let me just toss to Jeff's poll real quick. And this is how Jeff framed the question. And if you're listening to this show, big up to Laura Top Life, big up to Corey Hatcher, big up to Mike Wolf, big up the guys out there. Um, the general question is this, and I toss it to anybody listening to the program, or if you listen to the program at a later date. What are your thoughts on the Steelers giving Mike Tomlin a 3-year extension? Love it? Meh. Win a playoff game? Hate it? It won't matter. And I like the four. Like I like the four. And sorry about that, Corey, with the okie dokie. And and Corey just said it best. Corey said, I am meh on the extension. I understand why they did it. You know what Mike Tomlin feels like to me? He feels like a solid partner, someone that you can build an outstanding life with, but someone that you just might not get excited about. Now, and the one that you might get excited about might be the one that you don't need, the one that's going to get you in trouble, the one that you won't build an exciting life with. The one that's going it's going to be exciting, but you're going to get into some trouble. You might get up for it. And I think as time goes on and as you get older, I have a birthday coming up on June 18th. I'm turning 54 years of age. I think as you grow older and you get older, you appreciate the stability in life, right? You appreciate boring normalness. You appreciate normal shit every single day. Like you appreciate coming home and your wife, your kids, they chill. They just chill. It's just normal shit every day. You're not coming home to World War III and your house is just on fire every single day. Like you learn to appreciate that. Like it might not be the most exciting thing on a day-to-day basis, man, but having no issues and not dealing with a ton of drama on a day-to-day basis, that's awesome. I think that's what Mike Tomlin is. I think Mike Tomlin right now for the Roonies is safe. He's safe. And safe is not bad. Safe just ain't Andy Reid. But what makes Andy Reid? Andy, part of being Andy is Andy got Patty Mahomes. And so that's why I kind of want to kind of flip and transition this to my issue with Mike. And let me give you my answer. And on Jeff's poll, the love it got 55%. Meh, win a playoff game, 34%. Hate it was 7%. And 4% was it won't matter. I'm with Corey. I'm at meh, win a playoff game. Where they are right now, they cannot afford to bring in something new. They are still in the process of roster building. And to me, where Mike is a fantastic coach. And I'm not going to use that played out crap of motivational and that nonsense and BS. That's the type of way of saying a guy, particularly African American coaches, aren't intelligent and aren't X's and O's and schemers. They're just motivators, as if you can rah-rah your ass to 17 winning seasons in a row. You can't do that. So Mike is solid in everything. Here's the thing I think where Mike is suffering. It's roster building. It's roster construction. And it's not Mike Tomlin's fault that he had Ben Roethlisberger because he helped make Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, Steeler fans conveniently forget. And again, you're checking out the new standard hosted by yours truly, Lance Williams, on June 10th. 2024. Please like and subscribe to the program. And fans, try to forget that Mike got a young player in Ben Roethlisberger, albeit a very successful one. Roethlisberger was still that dumb kid that was hopping on the back of motorcycles or driving motorcycles and hitting shit face first. He was still a very immature player. Pocket awareness, reading defenses, etc., so on and so forth. So it's not as if Mike Tomlin, Bruce Arians the job and got the GOAT. I mean, it wasn't like he got the GOAT and could just hand the offense off to the GOAT and say, do your thing, baby boy. Only thing I want to advise you, Tom, is not to do a roast on Netflix with your kids in attendance when they can watch. Maybe you shouldn't do that. But, he developed Ben. Like, I mean, he coached Ben 3/4 of his career. And fans act like Ben was a finished product when Mike got him. Absolutely not. Continued to have a ton of success. But here's my thing now. When you look at the Steelers roster and roster building, you may disagree. You may agree. But roster building is part of coaching. Like, coaching just isn't drawing shit up on a board. It just isn't schematics and X's and O's. Just ask Corey. I mean, when you're coaching guys, you're coaching guys 24 hours a day. I mean, you're coaching if they're going to prepare, how they prepare, how they study, how we're going to present it to them, how we're going, along with the coaching stuff, as well as all of the media responsibilities. So it just ain't X's and O's sitting in the back of a room drawing up shit. Coaching is way more than that. And I think he does an excellent job at a lot of it. He checks a lot of, because truly, man, he's turning shit into Shinola. Like, you look at some of these rosters, especially at the quarterback position, but he cannot be absolved completely because he is part of the roster construction. It can't be a setup where Mike's over here and the team's over. Mike's part of the roster construction. Best believe every player that is drafted to play on the Pittsburgh Steelers and who is signed off on by Mike Tomlin. Nobody on that roster is Rooney just throwing, or Khan or Weedle just throwing and giving Mike Tomlin. So right now, he's doing, I think, probably in the last couple of years, both things can be said. He's probably done some of his best coaching, but the roster construction part of it, it's bad. The Kenny Pickett was bad. The Kenny Pickett Kenny, the Pickett was bad. Bad. It was so bad that they punted on the Kenny Pickett pick to get Russell Wilson, who did not light the world up the last 2 years. A guy that a team gave up on and said, forget it, we will pay him $30 million plus for you to have. You deal with that. One thing I want to say about Russ, as an aside, is if we get the Russell Wilson that manipulates the media and does the right thing in the media every day, then the Steelers win the Super Bowl. Russell Wilson is the best in the world in front of the media. He goes to concerts. He kisses babies. He got great sound bites. Russ just pop up everywhere where there's a photo op where he's building his brand. He's ingratiating himself to the fans, and he's just saying the right thing every day. Hopefully, the Steelers get that guy who's as good in front of the camera. Hopefully, that guy can be on the football field. But right now, I don't really have a problem with Mike getting the 3 years. I'm more like, yeah, because I'm looking at the roster, and the roster has some significant issues. I mean, you got uncertainty at the quarterback position. You don't have a number two wide receiver. You don't have a number two corner. I think your interior defensive line is, it's issue. Let me jump into this point from Mark Tobin. And he said, let's stop with the pandering and excuses. Tomlin is only going to get you so far. He's not a terrible coach, but he's not going to get you to the promised land either if we win it on the coattails of Wilson. I don't see that comment is interesting because, as I've been saying for the last 15, 16 minutes, what Mark, I think, is saying is correct. If you could divide Mike up into several pieces, right? Mike, the coach, is good enough to win a championship. Mike, the GM, is not. There has to be a balance in there. And we will also see if Mike Tomlin, player developer, if he's as good a coach in terms of player development, particularly developing the quarterback position. And I think what Mike Tomlin, you could see, is that Mike took a punt on that. And Mike said, look, man, developing another guy from scratch, dude, I'm a little long in the tooth for that. Like, I'm in, you know, I'd rather have a veteran guy to make this a little bit easier that I don't have to handhold. And I think the combination of Mike and the offensive coordinator, Matt Saskatchewan, was abject failure. I don't think Mike is the guy that can develop a young guy. And plus, here's another thing, and this is not an excuse. Mark, I'm not trying to make an excuse for Mike, but think about it this way. Let's say, Mark, you were dating somebody for 15 years, right? You got used to a certain thing. You got used to a certain thing. You got used to how she treated you. You got used to different things, right? There were certain things you could take for granted that was just rock solid in your relationship. Something happens, something tragic happens, she's out of the picture. You move on to, someone younger, much younger than your previous relationship. They don't know how to do some of the stuff that you like, or you got to coach them through this. And you start losing your patience. You're just like, can't take it. She's too young. Let me get rid of her and let me get a vet. The vet might not be as hot as the young one, but I'm going to get a vet because I need my every day to be solid. I need it to be solid every day. I think that's what Russell Wilson is. I think that's where Mike Tomlin is in his process of being a coach. I think he did not realize that, developing a young quarterback would be that hard, especially one who didn't have the physical attributes of Ben Roethlisberger. And Double A said, oh, I know about this. Twice divorced. Corey Hatcher said, I want Fields. I wouldn't mind Fields either. And maybe that's the good thing about the 3 years. But they got to sign Fields. I mean, and they might be in an advantageous position, especially if Fields doesn't play. But here's the thing about Fields, and maybe Fields be in the future, is that if you win with Russ, Mike ain't giving that up. Mike ain't starting that over again. Mike not gonna start that over again. So if they have a successful season, go to the playoffs, let's say they go 10-7, 11-6. Let's say they win a playoff game with Russ as the starter. Russ coming back. You're not giving up a starting quarterback that got you to the playoffs unless his name is, well, them dudes from last year who will not be named. But you know, and Double H kills me. Double H came, he said, I go for college. Graduate students now. Don't tell on yourself, Double H. This, this show will not, don't tell on yourself, Double H. That's all I'm saying. And Corey's absolutely right. They got to sign one of them because they can't start over. Because the worst case scenario um, is at the end of this year, you don't have either one of them, or you have no confidence in either one of them, and you have to start all over again and draft a guy. Mike is the stabilizer. I'm meh, but Mike is the stabilizer. In this situation where I think the roster is still not where they want it, you need a stable guy to steer the ship, a guy that can literally take, shit into Shinola. Corey Hatcher made a good point. All things being equal, I'm keeping the younger guy. I mean, I think that's where I am right there. I mean, I feel like I would rather develop Justin Fields at this point because he's much younger and has the much better physical attributes. I would rather have Justin Fields as my starter and sign Justin to a smaller prove it deal. And then if he shows what he is, you sign him to a long-term extension after that. But of course, Justin Fields knows that. And Justin Fields is like, look, I'm just going to take this opportunity to be silent, maybe play some solid ball as a backup, get back out there on the market when some quarterbacks fail. But as far as Tomlin, the extension of Tomlin, I don't know if it's a case if it was right or wrong. It was just the obvious thing. I mean, there weren't really better options out there. Why not bring him back? I mean, he's turning his shit into Shinola and getting you to the playoffs. You might, you might not win a Super Bowl, but damn, if you don't get to the playoffs, you can't get there. And so at least Mike is doing that for you, and he's steering the ship in a solid way. And he's a damn good coach. He's just bad, I think, at quarterback development and roster building. I think he just needs some help there. And if you can help him around that, then maybe, maybe it works out. I mean, we all knew he was going to get extended, just like the sun is going to come up tomorrow morning. He getting extended. Just like Luka Doncic is going to miss like 10 threes, or just like Caitlin Clark is going to shoot a whole bunch of threes and people going to get mad because she's not on the Olympic team. Exactly. So bottom line, the way it all shakes out, like Mr. Tummy said, is if there are no better options available, you might as well stick with Mike T. You might as well. He's going to do some solid coaching. But again, this quarterback position has to get fixed. They've got to fix it. And before, he's got that's what has to work. He's got to coach these quarterbacks. He's got to get these quarterbacks to a point where he's confident that they can go out and execute week in, week out, win some games, sustain some games, not lose some games. And I say sustain some games, meaning not lose some games where your defense is balling, your running game is balling, you're winning, and you just don't need to turn over the ball. You need some guy that can do that. You need a guy that if you're getting lit up, you need a guy that can go out and light somebody up. And again, we're going to see a lot of things. Arthur Smith. You got Arthur Smith, the coordinator. You got the two new quarterbacks. You got a mystery at the wide receiver position. You got new pieces on the offensive line. You want to mix a new coach into all of that? Hell no. No way. You can't do it. So it ain't the greatest thing in the world, not the worst thing in the world, but Mike Tomlin is back for another 3 years. But before we get out of here, make sure you like and subscribe to the program. And as always, tune in, tell a friend, and subscribe. Go Steelers.